Hey everyone, Brian from Human Japanese and Satori Reader here. Today we're going to talk about two common patterns that are both used to talk about trying something. And those patterns are te miru and yo to suru. As we're going to see, they can mean very different things, so it's important to understand the differences and use them correctly. Before we get started, I want to say thanks to Disciple84, who is the reader on Satori Reader who most recently asked this question and prompted this video. So thank you, Disciple84. I hope this is useful to you and to everyone else who's watching. So let's start by reviewing each pattern and going through a few example sentences, and then we'll compare and contrast. So we'll start with the te miru pattern. Now this pattern simply takes the te form of any verb plus miru. For example, if taberu means to eat, then tabete miru means to eat and see. But it's not literal seeing that we're talking about. It means to see what it's like, to see what you think, to see how it goes. And in the case of eating something, usually we would just say in English to try it. Eat it and see what you think. So here's an example sentence. このケーキは美味しいよ。食べてみて。This cake is delicious. Eat it and see. In other words, eat it and see what you think. Here's another example. If the word iku means to go, then itte miru means to go and see. So here's an example sentence. いつかハワイに行ってみたいな. And that means, someday I'd like to go to Hawaii and see what it's like, see how I like it, see what it's all about. So that's te miru in a nutshell. Let's try another example. This is something that someone actually said to me one time. My wife and I were visiting Japan, and my sister-in-law said this. She has never traveled outside of Japan. And so we were talking about jet lag, and she said, and the word for jet lag is jisaboke. She said, 私もいつか時差ボケを経験してみたいな. So that means I too would someday like to experience jet lag and see what it's like. In other words, I want to try having jet lag someday too. See how that works? It's all about doing something and then seeing how it turns out. All right, so now let's look at the other pattern, and that pattern is yo to suru. It simply takes the let's do form of any verb plus to suru. And the suru part is the part that conjugates. So for example, if akeru means to open, like to open a window or open a door, then akeyo to suru means to try to open, to attempt to open. Or if iku means to go, then ikou to suru means to attempt to go, to try to go. So let's try these out in a couple of example sentences. Try this one on for size. 窓を開けようとしたけど、開かなかった. So this means I tried to open the window, but it wouldn't open. See how that works? Let's try another one. In this sentence, I'm going to use the word kokuhaku suru, and that means to confess or to admit. And in the context of relationships, it means to confess your feelings for someone. And usually it means the very first time you tell someone that you like them and you want to go out with them. So if you've watched the Netflix show Love Wagon, I'm sure you've seen this word. But that's kokuhaku suru. So let's try this one out. 彼女に告白しようとしたけど言えなかった. I tried to confess my feelings to her, but I couldn't say it. I couldn't say them. I couldn't get it out of my mouth. So as you can see, this pattern is about making an attempt, trying to do something, but it's not always clear that that attempt is going to succeed. And as we're going to see in a moment, that's one of the key differences between this pattern and the earlier one. But before we go on, I want to just talk about one other way that this pattern can be used. It can also be used to mean that an action begins to take place. It starts to occur and usually is interrupted by something. So let's see an example of that. And in this example, I'm going to use the word 瞬間, which means instant or moment. ドアを開けようとした瞬間、電話が鳴った。So this means the instant I tried to open the door or went to open the door, the phone rang. So it doesn't mean trying to open the door in the sense of like rattling it back and forth. In this particular context, it simply means that the speaker went to open the door, tried to open the door, made to open the door, and just as they were doing that, the phone rang. So there's two different uses of this yo to suru pattern, either literally attempting or going, making, just starting to do something when something else happens. So now that we see how to use both of these, let's compare and contrast. As we saw earlier, the te miru form is about doing something and then seeing how it goes. So importantly, it takes as kind of a given that the verb itself, the main verb, is possible to do and that it will succeed. So when someone says, このケーキは美味しいよ、食べてみて, there's no doubt in anyone's mind that it is possible to eat the cake. The real question is, what are you going to think? What's it going to be like? You know? And in contrast, the yo to suru pattern is actually all about the attempt itself, and there's no guarantee that it will succeed. In fact, much of the time, the thing that follows, I tried to do such and such with this yo to suru pattern is, but it didn't work out. So to illustrate the differences, let's look at a few pairs of sentences that use each pattern. All right, let's look at the one about opening a window. 窓を開けようとした versus 窓を開けてみた. Okay, so in 窓を開けようとした, it means I tried to open the window, and we can see the guy doing this, you know, trying to actually open it, and maybe succeeding and maybe not. Probably the rest of the sentence is going to tell us. But in 窓を開けてみた, it's I opened the window and saw. Well, what did you see? Well, what it was like. Maybe a nice cool breeze came in from the outside. Maybe there was traffic noise. But importantly, the part about opening the window was completed successfully. There's no question about that. So at the end of these two sentences, we're in two different states. In the first one, we're in a maybe it succeeded but maybe not state. And in the second one, the window is definitely open. Does that make sense? Let's look at the sentence about confessing your feelings too. And you'll see that it also ends very differently depending on which pattern we used. So earlier, the sentence we saw was 彼女に告白しようとしたけど言えなかった. I tried to confess my feelings to her, but I couldn't say them. So at the end of this sentence, the feelings are not out there. Nothing has been said. He tried and he failed. Now let's try it another way. 彼女に告白してみたけどダメだった. So in this sentence, the speaker confesses his feelings and sees, in other words, sees what her reaction is, sees what's going to happen, but unfortunately, it's no good. But critically, notice at the end of this sentence, the feelings actually are out there. They have been conveyed. So you can see how these two sentences have very different end results. So that's going to wrap up our discussion for today. I hope it was useful. If you're interested in reading Japanese stories with this kind of discussion baked in, then please check out satorireader.com. And if you're at an earlier stage of your studies, check out our Human Japanese series as well. Either way, I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.